It's time for another challenge. I want you to try using some of the things that we've already learned to add in a new visualization for our laser. Right now, our laser just kind of ends at the thing that it lands on, and I'd like to modify that. So if we go to the laser folder, you should see some laser blast. What is this called? Laser yellow burst. And I'd like you to implement a laser burst that shows up at the edge of the sprite. So it shows up right where the laser is hitting and then pulses and gets bigger and smaller. So go ahead and try to do that on your own. Whenever you're done or ready, just continue on and I'll run you through the steps and show you the easiest, simplest solution that'll work and get this done for you. But I want you to give it a try on your own first, see if you can figure it out, and then continue on. So go ahead and now I'll assume that you've either done it or decided not to. So we're going to right click on our laser and we're going to add in a new game object. I want a new sprite that's going to be a child. I'll just use a square and I should get a big fat square there. I'll drag the laser yellow right here, this little laser yellow burst into there, and then I'm going to just drag it over to the side so I can see what it looks like. If I drag it right to this position, I can tell that it's behind the sprite renderer. Because my sorting layer is not set, I want to put this on props, and I'll just set the order and layer up to a 1 so that it's up above my laser beam. Now this will work fine as long as my laser beam doesn't move, but my laser beam is definitely going to move. So I need to modify the code so that it can move this object to wherever I've hit my laser point. So let's rename this object to laser burst. And then let's open up the laser script. We'll give ourselves a reference to that laser burst. So we'll add a serialized field that's a sprite renderer. And we'll call this laser burst underscore laser burst. And then I'm going to copy that laser burst, and down in our code where we set the end point, let's just set the position of this laser burst to be exactly at that end point. So I'll say laser burst.transform.position equals end point. This should move that laser burst directly to where we want it to be whenever it hits something. I do want to, however, turn the laser burst off if our laser is not on. So I'm going to expand out our is on code, add some braces, and before the return, I'll paste in laser burst and put dot enabled equals false. And then down here where we set the laser burst position, I will say laser burst dot enabled equals true. So we'll turn it on if we've got a valid position, and we'll turn it off if we don't have a valid position. Now, if we don't hit anything, it's really up to you to decide. Do you want to leave the laser burst sitting on the laser, or do you want to get rid of it? If you want to get rid of it, you could just copy this line here, add an else statement, and paste it in and replace the true with false. Now we won't get a laser burst until it actually hits something. Let's save, check that out, make sure that it works, and then figure out the pulsing part next. So we'll go in, we'll press play. Oh, we've got to assign the laser burst before we press play though. Otherwise, we're just going to get a null reference exception. So as soon as it's done compiling, we'll drag the laser burst onto that laser burst field. It's going to be this child right here. And then we'll press play and watch that burst end up at our end point. So any second now, we'll take that. Oops, I just clicked off the object. Let's go click my laser again. And then drag that laser burst down. I'm going to save my scene just to make sure that I don't forget to save before I do any committing, and press play, and my laser burst should now appear at the end of the beam. Well, right now it's cheated because I moved it into that position beforehand, but whenever it starts playing and we actually see the laser beam going out, we should see that burst matching up with the end point. All right, we're entering play mode. And we'll run on over. And that burst is showing up there. If I get out of here, I can see that, yep, it goes to whatever thing it's supposed to land on. Now let's stop playing and add in the code so that it can pulsate. I want this thing to get bigger and smaller over time so that it kind of feels a little bit more alive. To do that, we're just going to modify the transform scale. And we can do that right here on line 42. We'll say laser burst dot transform dot local scale. And we want to set it to vector 2.1 or vector 3.1 really times some variable. And remember when we used the mathf.pingpong and time.time, we can do the same here. So we're going to set it equal to vector 3.1 times, and here we'll do mathf.pingpong, just like we did before, and we'll give it time.time as the first parameter and 1f so that it goes between 0 and 1 over a 1 second period. Now, if I just do this, I'm going to get a variable laser blast that goes all the way down to 0, 0, 0, which is going to cause some problems, and then back up to 1. Instead of that, though, I want it to be slightly different. I want it to go from 0.5 to 1.5. So I'm going to add some parentheses here, and I'll say 0.5 plus our mathf.pingpong. Oh, I think I need to add an f right here. Be a little bit more explicit that it's a float so that I can add my float to the floating value from the ping pong. So this is going to give me a value from 0.5 at the smallest to 1.5 at the largest, and it's going to go over 1 second with that iteration or that looping. Let's try it out. Hopefully you were able to remember and use the mathf.pingpong when you were trying to figure this out, by the way. That was one of the key things that I want to make sure that you remember these things exist, and remember that it's a lot easier most of the time. We don't necessarily need to add an animation and an animator or do a bunch of crazy code. A lot of the time we can just do a simple one-liner like this to modify things over time and do these cool little visualizations. So let's play, make sure that our laser is pulsing, and then once we're good with that, we can check it in. All right, let's see. Here it goes, starting up. And again, my startup times are slightly slow right now because I'm copying a million files off my hard drive and just beating up my system while I record so that I don't keep running out of space while I'm recording. All right, we press play. And the laser is off, so we'll turn it on and look at that. The laser is growing, it's pulsing, and I think that that looks pretty freaking cool. So let's go into plastic and make sure that we've saved our scene. So that laser has, I'll say that we added laser burst to the laser beam, and we'll check that in.